Om Shanti and welcome back to Ek Mulakat. As you may know, we bring a different guest to you each time from different walks of life. Our special guest today is Dr. Vandana Shiva. She is a social activist, a professional speaker, a philosopher, and her PhD is in physics. But somewhere down the line, she got interested in agriculture, in holistic agriculture. What an interesting combination. She has also starred in some documentaries, one of them, Dalai Lama Renaissance. So let's talk to her and find out what got her interested in organic farming and what got her interested in this movement about ecofeminism. So without further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Shiva. Dr. Shiva, we'd like to welcome you to our Godlywood studio and also to the Brahmakumari headquarters in Mount Abu.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Om Shanti, and we're very happy to have you here. At the outset, I'd like to start off by asking you about organic farming. In the West, it's been very popular, and lately I'm seeing in India as well, there are a lot of places where organic produce is available. Given the fact that it is a little more expensive than modern farming, the produce that's available by modern farming, I wanted to ask you, is it worth going for organic produce? Why not just go for the other stuff that's available?
Last 30 years life, and it will take forever to give the details, but let me give the key points.
Okay.
I'm a physicist. I'm trained in quantum theory.
Okay.
Why am I even working on agriculture?
Right.
Because I saw the most prosperous state of India, where I did my MSc honors in physics.
Okay.
Before I went to Canada to do a PhD.
Okay.
Blow up in violence in the 80s. And the Golden Temple, the army had to be sent, and then the violence took place.
Right.
And even today, that vicious cycle of violence hasn't got over.
Right.
The Punjab violence is not over. Not in the minds of the people, nor on the ground where suicides are continuing, where the cancer train runs from Bathinda to Bikaner, where children having cancer because there's so much pesticide in the water, and the farmers are committing suicide because they're in debt. 75% of the youth are drug addicts. And that's why a film was made called Urta Punjab. Now, 84 also was the year we had explosion of a pesticide plant. A leak took place in Bhopal. And thousands of people died on 2nd of December. So 84, which is also the title of the Orwell's book, 1984, made me sit up and said, something's happening, I need to study it. I was working then for the United Nations University on a major program on peace and global transformation.
Oh, nice.
And I said, I think this needs to be looked at. And they were very good. They let me study Punjab. And I did a book for the UN then called The Violence of the Green Revolution. And I took a pledge in my heart. I will promote non-violent farming.
Isn't that interesting? A physicist coming into agriculture. I mean, that's really unheard of, and it's really commendable, I would say.
To answer the two questions you raised about organic being expensive and the industrial production being cheap. In my book, I learned what is called industrial farming is nothing but using the instruments of war. And as one of the conversations with the Brahmakumaris said, those techniques are maro, 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 kill, 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 kill. That's why Punjab was not an accident, Bhopal was not an accident. It was a continuation of the concentration camps. The same mindset of being at war. Now war on the earth. Why is it cheap? If $400 billion are spent as subsidies for a very expensive production. The seeds are expensive, the chemicals are expensive. If you take the costs to the environment, 75% of ecological destruction, took those costs. Or you took the health costs, which are trillions and trillions of dollars in cancer, autism, diabetes, obesity, neurological problems.
Heart problems.
They are all externalities of that system. The health of the planet and the health of people is being sacrificed and is not counted in the cost benefit. At the cost, we could not afford chemical farming if the true costs were paid. So we've done a book called Wealth Per Acre, calculating the true cost. When it comes to organic, to produce it in countries like India, first let me come back. to the issue of organic. People think it began in the West. It went from India to the West.
Okay, yeah? That's good to know.
Yes, because in 1905, the British sent the imperial botanist, because there was no agriculture discipline then, to India to improve Indian agriculture. Colonialism means they're constantly trying to improve us. And he arrives and he saw the soils were fertile. He saw there were no pests damaging the fields. And he said, I'm going to throw away all my textbooks.
Okay.
I'm going to throw away all the chemicals. And I'm going to make the Indian peasant my teacher.
Okay.
Now, the Indian peasant of 1905 was practicing indigenous traditional farming.
Wow.
Which can also go back all the way to the Vedic times.
Right.
And the two principles he distilled were, you farm through diversity.
Okay.
There's never a monoculture. Nature never has monocultures.
And this was not known to the West at the time?
Not at all, because they were going for commodity production.
Right.
And the second was the most important, which is the law of return, of giving back, of gratitude, of saying thank you to the earth. So you say thank you to the soil, you're going to get abundant food. And he showed 300% increase in food production just by saying thank you to the earth.
Isn't that something?
Now, what he evolved by looking at Indian farming, which had come down from centuries, 5,000 years, 10,000 years of farming, and he distilled it into a book called The Agricultural Testament. That book triggered the organic farming of the West.
Okay.
And it was called organic because it was holistic.
Right.
Organic means chemical-free. It also means holistic, integral.
Right.
Compared to chemical.
Right.
So it's, in India, we call it Jaivik.
Right.
Farming for life.
Right.
So it went from India to the West. Since Punjab in Bhopal in 1984, I've given my life to promote. Our farmers is zero input, and they're earning 10 times more than the chemical commodity producing farmers who are chasing hybrid corn.
Is that
BT
right?
cotton. Yes.
But at this point, then I do want to ask you, what's the reason for the suicides that are happening? Like, if they are producing or if they are getting a lot more back financially, then what's the reason for the suicides?
Farmers who are committing suicides are ones who are trapped in the debt trap.
Okay.
And this is not just the case for India, it's also the case for America.
Okay.
There are higher rates of farmer suicides
than
they are of the average population.
Oh, okay.
And the small farmer and the family farmer is being driven out in the United States as they're being driven out here.
Oh.
So if you look, because I've done about 5 volumes called Seeds of Suicide, the deaths are where farmers started to depend on one crop. The costs of production keep shooting up. For the seeds, the price, when it became a GMO cotton seed, the price jumped 80,000%.
Oh, wow.
And these are cases in the courts in India, with the Competition Commission of India, with the Supreme Court of India. These are all not for those who think it's just hearsay. And the data on 320,000 farmer suicides in India since 95 is National Bureau of Crime record. It's government data. People like me don't cook it up.
Yeah.
All we do is we go into the field.
Right.
And we say, okay, these are farmers. Why did they get into debt? And then we find 84% got into debt because of the seed, 80,000% more. They got into debt because of chemicals, because these seeds need chemicals, but the chemicals don't work.
Right.
So you need more and more and more. In the United States, Roundup is not working to control weeds. Roundup Ready soya bean has been a total failure. Now they're using dicamba and they're super weeds.
But, to a layperson like me, what would be an alternative to the pesticides? I mean, you grow a crop and you need to kill the weeds and the bugs.
I think the first thing is get the idea of killing out of your head. I think if we say Om Shanti, the word Om Shanti has to be with all life on earth.
Okay.
It's not just between two human beings who meet and a greeting. Om Shanti is your worldview. And India's agriculture evolved with the recognition that all beings have a place on this earth. And we have a duty to share this planet with them.
That's really
That is why at the Brahma Kumari headquarters, there's a saying that you do, through awareness and links to the universal power, you can create Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam on earth.
Right.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means the earth family.
Right.
In ecological terms, it means the diversity of species.
Right, right.
In spiritual terms, it means to live as one family.
One family, right.
Without hate, without discrimination, without violence.
Right.
Now, our work has shown, and I've just published a whole new book, actually called Biodiversity, Agroecology, and Organic Food Systems. First, remember Howard, who didn't find pests damaging crops in India? Because when you have a diversity of crops, you have a diversity of insects feeding on them.
Okay.
Now, they have amazing relationships.
Right.
So if you have ladybirds in your field,
right.
they'll be eating the aphids.
Okay.
If you have spiders, they'll be eating other pests. If you have birds, they'll be coming to eat some of the worms that cause damage.
How wonderful.
So the cycle of life is a cycle of balance.
It self-promotes that kind of farming.
Yeah. Then, if you spray, first you grow a monoculture, then only one pest has a feast.
Right.
So insects are not pests. Industrial chemical farming creates pests.
Okay.
Then it says, I'm going to kill this bug. It's a war against the bug. But the bug is intelligent and it evolves intelligently.
It mutates.
It mutates. You got it. Yeah? It mutates and becomes a superbug.
Right.
And we've created 1,200 times more bugs that are resistant than now, including to GMOs. So there are weeds in America resistant to weedicide. And to the BT cotton in India, now they're pests, the bollworm resistant, the pesticide built into the plant.
Right.
So this killing idea, the treadmill of killing, live and let live, is actually an efficient pest control strategy. And this is called integrated pest control. And it works brilliantly. We have a farm in Dehradun, Navdanya, which is a teaching research farm. And it's amazing. We have so many insects. We have 6 times more pollinators than in the forest next door. Absolutely bountiful with insects.
Natural.
Not a single pest.
Natural pollination.
Not a single pest.
Yeah.
They're all creating the balance. The plants are creating the balance of insects. The insects are creating a balance between us. And that's how good societies work.
Yeah.
And good communities work. So Om Shanti should be our slogan for how we do agriculture.
Even as you're talking about it, I'm visualizing all of this that you're telling me. You know, this field where all the bugs are living in harmony and the field is really doing well. This reminds me of yogic kheti at Brahma Kumaris. They also do yogic kheti, which is you take the positive energy from Supreme Soul and then you spread these vibrations to your crop. And even that apparently has given really good results.
I spent this morning with the people who are taking care of that program, and they use the phrase yogic organic agriculture.
Okay.
And in the booklet that was given to me, it says yogic sustainable agriculture. So the first level of the spiritual is our attitude to the earth, to the soil, to the plants, to the seed. Now, you can't do yogic chemical farming. You can't. It's a contradiction
It's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah. So it's not just that you can use toxics, pump the earth, kill every being, wipe out the friendly insects, kill all the birds, and sit and do meditation. No. That's not spirituality. Because that's partial. You know? It's one element coming into the picture that's meditative, but you not being conscious. For the rest of your actions. So consciousness means you are deeply aware about every relationship. In that case, you care for the soil. Organic. Allowing diversity of plants to grow. Non-violent relationship. Our research, Navdanya means 9 seeds. It also means the new gift.
Oh, nice.
Which is the movement I started. Our research is showing by just growing food non-violently, we could grow enough nourishment for 2 times India's population. There needs to be no hunger. And this is studies, scientifically proven on empirical feeds, not assumptions, not propaganda, but actually farmers practicing it and then us going into the field and documenting it. The yogic is extremely important, but the yogic is all the principles of farming. You've got to let diversity of species thrive. Farming is taking care of them. A tribal once said to me, I am going to decorate the earth.
You know, this brings us to our next question. Speaking of genetic engineering, when we go out to the food market, the food store, you see a lot of vegetables and fruits these days that are like looking bigger and fresher and juicier. They have a longer shelf life. So what is the downside of genetic engineering? Why is it not really good for us?
The first, it is nutritionally empty. Second, it's full of toxics. And now they're finding out that the Bt toxin in the Bt crops, which are one category of GMO crops, actually that toxin survives in the blood of pregnant women and is being found in the fetus. It's been found to be killing red blood cells. So all kinds of new issues are coming up. Our studies have shown it's killed 60% of the soil, fauna and flora. And there's not one pollinator on a BT cotton plant because it is a toxin. And in America, it's the Roundup Ready, the glyphosate. Glyphosate residues are killing the microbes in our gut. Those microbes, which are in trillions, are producing the enzymes that give us health. They're producing the neurotransmitters that make our brain function. So when we say Jesa Anna Vesa Man, as you eat is your mind, but the mind is not just up here in this brain. This is being called the second brain. It's called the enteroneurosystem. That's where more neurological activity is going on than in the upstairs brain, which is what most of the time is looked at. The food is wrong. The gut is getting messed up. And your second brain and your first brain are all getting mixed up. Therefore, if you look at the trend of chronic diseases, they're moving like this. And neurological problems, which never existed before. Autism is at such a huge scale.
You know, that's true.
Alzheimer's. All these are neurological problems. Now, chronic diseases are being related to the food we eat. And so many really eminent doctors I meet are waking up to the fact, whether it's cancer or cardiac problems. And when you do detailed epidemiological studies, it's not the genes that are making the difference of big clusters of cancer in one place and not in another place, but the food people are eating. And in the food, what's damaging is the chemicals and the GMOs. And in the ecological food, the organic food, the benefit is, might look smaller, but small doesn't mean less nutrition. Bigger doesn't mean more nutrition. It's nutritionally empty, toxic food, and that's not what you want to eat as food.
And I was just thinking when you talked about the cross-pollination, the bees are smarter than us. You said on certain crops, they don't go around that crop, you know, because they know it's toxic.
There's so many animal experiments done, Swati. One was they left one GMO corn and a non-GMO corn. And the squirrels ate the non-GMO corn and left this one, the GMO totally untouched. They released cows, GMO cornfield, non-GMO cornfield. The cows didn't go to the GMO cornfield.
Isn't that something?
Microbes in our gut, no. We don't know. Because our minds have got so polluted.
You
know, with the propaganda, with the weight. You know, some of the biggest industry of our times is the industry that's destroying our food by bringing instruments of war to it. In agriculture, in the food transformation, and, you know, in industrially processed food is recognized to be harmful to health. Then you have long shelf life. No, living things should go. You know, I know people are freezing themselves thinking that one day there'll be a technology to bring them back to life. But the point is with consciousness,
it's not going to happen.
Every day is life. Because this bodily life must go. A tomato must rot with age. First GMO brought to the world was something called Flavor Saver tomato, which was never supposed to rot, so it could sit on the shelf for 6 months. It was like a ball. Throw it on the wall, it came back, bounced back. Nobody ever bought it because it was no more tomato. It couldn't cook. Yeah.
I've heard of apples being frozen and waxed, and you know they last for 6 months.
Oh, now they have an Arctic apple, which will never become brown, so you can have. You don't even have to peel your apple. You don't even have to bite an apple. You'll get sliced GMO Arctic apple, which will never go brown, and you'll never know whether it's been sliced for 6 months.
Oh, wow. Isn't that something? We really need to watch out for these things. I mean,
I think food is the place. Food is the true test of human consciousness and human spirituality.
You have authored several books. You know, one of them, if I recall correctly, is Making Peace on Earth.
Making Peace with the Earth.
Making Peace with the Earth. And Staying Alive.
Staying Alive was my first. It's on women and ecology, which gave birth to this idea of the convergence of the movement of ecology and women. And that's why ecofeminism.
So, so the target audience for this book is basically farmers, like educated farmers, or no?
You know, I never have targets. That's also a war metaphor.
Okay, that's good to know.
You know, I write as part of my living. Sometimes publishers ask me, Staying Alive came out of my talk at the UN Conference of Women in Mexico in 1985. The publisher heard me. She said, but no one's made these connections between ecology and women's
empowerment. So why don't you write a book?
And why don't you write a book?
Yeah.
And she said, no, you must. And it's a classic now, and it's been You know, they just celebrated 20 years of it with a big function in London by the UK publisher. My book on patents, I was basically dealing with our parliament, our Congress, to ensure that the illusion that corporations are gods doesn't go into our laws. And our laws exclude plants, animals, seeds that are part of creation, part of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. All of that I was writing either as briefs for government, ministers, courts. And then another publisher comes along and says, will you write? So in this last 3 days, 3 new books have come out.
Interesting.
One is called Origin.
Okay.
And it's really all the work on living systems and intellectual property.
Okay.
You know, the clash between a worldview of conquest, mastery, ownership, war, and a worldview of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Wow. You know, it has been really wonderful listening to you because I have learned a lot. Just in these past 20 minutes, you know, I have learned a lot from you in terms of agriculture and holistic agriculture and what's good for us. You've been at this conference here for a few days now at Brahma Kumaris, and I was kind of wondering, is this your first time here or you've been here before?
No, it's my absolute first time.
First time.
And it's my absolute first time to see the Brahma Kumari community close, to see the wisdom in the dadis and the yoginis and the sisters and the brothers. And what has touched me most is the spirit of service. That's what humanity needs to rejuvenate.
Exactly. So in conclusion, if we were to ask you to give a message or some inspirational message to our audience, you know, there are lots of people who are watching us today. What would you be talking to them about if somebody wants to follow you in your footsteps?
Well, I think we have to follow the footsteps of the kind of beings we are. It's the same footsteps that the Brahma Kumaris have walked. My path started in a different place, but that we are spiritual beings. We live in an amazingly beautiful universe created by a divine power. We have a duty to protect it. We have a duty to share its resources and not destroy it. We have the ability to be kind and to love and care and have compassion. And therefore, we need another definition of science. We need another definition of progress. We need another definition of economy that is embedded in spirituality.
With these words, I would really like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing all this knowledge, beautiful wisdom that you have shared with us today. And we look forward to having you here back again. So whenever you get an opportunity, please come back and visit with us.
I will look forward to it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti. We had this very wonderful conversation with Dr. Shiva today, where she very passionately talked about why not to use pesticides in farming. She also talked about the downside of genetic engineering and how organic farming is going to go a long way in helping us having healthy bodies. I hope you enjoyed these conversations we had with her, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next episode of Ek Mulakat. Until then, take care and Om Shanti.